right, welcome back into Indiebnb. Today we are joined by Jim Fairchild of Small Isles and a few other bands as well, um, Granddaddy and Modest Mouse. But we're here to talk Small Isles. Jim, how are things out in beautiful Ojai, California today?
They're pretty stable. Let's see here. I'm working on a couple of scores at the moment. I scored this movie called Common Ground. Spent a lot of last year doing that, and it's making the rounds right now. I'm actually going to another premiere of that next week. It's got like Jason Momoa and Laura Dern and Rosario Dawson and Donald Glover and a bunch of other people. But we're going to a premiere next week with a few of those people. And then they're the couple that made that, Josh and Rebecca Tickell, are working on a follow-up. It's called Be the Change, about pollinators. That's a shorter movie. So I'm working on that. And then I'm also on totally the opposite end of the spectrum, working on, hey, sorry, my little doggy's over here. He thinks it's dinner time. It is dinner time for him. And then there's I don't know if they actually know what the title of it is. I guess they'll figure it out shortly because it's going to be on in March on Lifetime, but it's a Nicole Brown Simpson doc, from the perspective mostly of her friends and family. So there's interviews with her surviving sisters and family friends and things like that. So trying to, the pollinator doc is like there are some down moments, of course, because colony collapse is real, but trying to make that a little more uplifting and brighter because pollinators are amazing creatures and vital to our existence. And then the other side of my day is like this Nicole Brown Simpson doc, which is like clearly very, very dark. And then what's going on in Ojai, it rained a couple of days ago, so it's really nice and clear outside. We live right at the bottom of a mountain, and my 6-year-old son is still out of school, so we spent the day outside. We laid out a big drop cloth, and we were working on some science experiments before I came into work.
Oh, yes, that rules. I mean, you got movie scoring. I mean, as far as like that, is that how big of a challenge is it to kind of do you have to get emotionally dark to write the dark parts of the documentary? I mean, or like is it kind of like, all right, like I need to, like, if I were watching this is what I would think would be playing right now. Like, what's the process look like for that?
You know, so much of that I think is somewhat reflexive. So it's just like in the case of Nicole Brown Simpson doc, it's a 3-part series, and I've kind of been in that headspace now for a couple of months. So it's basically like it's a great spot to be in because I will just make a bunch of music and then send it to them, and they'll start cutting to it. That's sort of the most ideal spot you can be in scoring. But do I have to get emotionally dark? Yes, I would say that is definitely like there's it bleeds into my emotional life. And so a lot of times when I get out of here, I have to kind of shake it off and walk around outside for a second because I don't want to take that home.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. Well, within your obviously you're doing these scores, but you also have some a project called Small Isles,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I want to know more about that. Where did this come from? I know you've worked with a producer, that you're good buddies with in Philly. Like, what's the impetus of Small Isles? Kind of coming out of a long track with some great brands.
Man, like when Granddaddy split up the first time, or split up the only time we split up, I did a solo record. I did a second solo record, and some music supervisors got a hold of that record and licensed it a bunch, and then started becoming friends with them. And I was always super into scoring, and they said, if you could make us more of this kind of music, just make us instrumental tracks, and we'll start using it in shows. So I began doing that. I started, just like building out this library, and I spent when we were making the Modest Mouse record, Strangers to Ourselves, writing and recording that, which it was a long process. But I probably built a library out of, I don't know, 250, 300, little short pieces of instrumental music. And I really fell in love with that. And we started touring that record, and I kind of let that endeavor not totally go to sleep, but rest a little bit. And then when my son was born, I was thinking a lot about what I wanted the next phase of my professional life to be. And I wanted it to be more centered around making music for picture. And so using the example of a lot of venerated composers, people like Johann Johansson, Hildur Gudnadottir, and Max Richter, I thought, well, I'm going to start a project where I make the instrumental music that might, sort of forecast what my scores would sound like. So that's how Small Isles began. I made the first record, thinking that I was scoring this imaginary movie that would be like kind of an update of like The Ice Storm, but with Rick Moody and Ang Lee in direct collaboration. And then I started making the second Small Isles release, which was a EP called Out in the Sunset, when I was on the road with Modest Mouse. And I just started sending those recordings to directors and producers and things, and people that I had relationships with. And it started to, fortunately, knock on wood, turn into opportunities to at least take a crack at scoring. And now it's turning into more of that. And that's kind of what Small Isles is. So I want those to exist at the same time. I want to be able to continue to make new Small Isles recordings. We just put this record out, or this EP out, last month, and then I have a couple that I'm writing right now, like full lengths, that I want to come out this year, that I'm just like working on steadily as I'm scoring. So what I'm trying to do always is, like, as I'm working on these scoring projects, there'll be new sounds or whatever, new melodies that trigger certain ideas, and then I always have a folder ready to go with like titles and things, and it's like, okay, this is a potential palette addition for this new Small Isles thing, because I want to be a lot busier for the next 10 years of my life.
I got you. Well, like, whenever you're on tour with somebody, you said you kind of created that while you're on tour. Like, how did you kind of balance that? Was it like a kind of a good reset between shows to be like, all right, I'm going to go do something that's like the complete opposite of what I'm doing tonight when I'm working. I'm going to go work on this. That's, going to set me up and be much different than what I'm doing tonight. Like, the instrumental part of it, not as much of a live set, but like, so how did you kind of split your time, and was it like something you just wake up in the morning, you kind of stretch your legs and get on and start recording stuff, or what was kind of the process there?
It's funny, man. It's almost exactly that. Yeah, I mean, I stopped drinking in 2016, and I found myself with a lot more energy on the road than I had ever had before, after 20 years of drinking on the road. And so I'd always kind of, or not always, but for the few years before that, I had brought a little mobile rig, but I just started taking it more seriously. So I'd get up and, have some breakfast, make some coffee, go for a run. And I would just wheel this little mobile recording setup into these locker rooms, basically these empty arenas. And it was mostly when we were on tour with Black Keys. And I would just start making music. I would just do that all day. When you're on tour, when you're a kid, or when I was a kid, and I think most of my friends were just kind of recovering or like in transit. But there is a lot of free time if you can figure out a way to use it. And just as I got older and started to, I don't know, sort of redefine my objectives and how I wanted to use my energy, I just began spending the day doing that. I'd get in, have everything set up by maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, and then you're basically free until sound check starts at 4 or 5. So, I mean, it's not that I used every single one of those hours as productively as it might sound, but I was also trying to do that. I was trying to just, it's I've been crazy fortunate, like Granddaddy got signed when I was 21, and we started touring then. And Granddaddy was never like massively successful on a commercial level, but people knew about us and we were able to tour and do it for, professionally from a pretty early age. Um, and when you do that, and then of course going into Modest Mouse, the tendency seems to be, and it completely makes sense, is like when you're learning how to tour and learning how to use that energy and also again still drinking at that point, um, you don't totally know how to get the most out of the day, and you certainly aren't making that much music. And as I went, because it's like you're wrung out at the end of a tour, so you want to be done. You want to just get away from it for a while. And what the challenge that I set for myself was like, I don't want to start to taper off as I'm aging. I want to take all of these lessons that I learned and do it. Like I want to make
Yeah.
more music than I've ever made from the time I was, I'm starting to have these realizations in my early 40s, but from like say that time till I'm 60, like I want to do it. I want to like really like figure out how I feel about music and how I make music and like what I'm curious about. I want to follow those paths and try to solve some of those riddles, because then you discover as you do it more and more that there's an infinite number of riddles in music, and that's still totally fascinating to me. So it's like, whatever, the second you think you've got something wired, then you crack a hole in the wall, it's like a little light, and then it explodes and you got this whole new vista, and it's like, well shit, I got to figure all this out now too.
Yeah.
So
That is awesome. I mean, I think like utilizing that time, like it's almost like you had like as the people in the, the 9 to 5ers like myself, like you have a 5 to 9, you kind of had, a window where you were, all right, I'm gonna figure out some new stuff. I'm gonna be super productive. And like I think I like that. Like you're in this different part of your career where you move and you're like, all right, now I've done that. Now I want to go and, figure out all this new stuff. And is it like how exciting is that to be like, all right, something new that's like very much probably a much different challenge than writing music or being a part of a band. Like how much
mhm.
different, how much harder is it to write something and score something, or write something like, Dewdrop Daybreak on, your latest release for Small Isles? Like how much more difficult, or what are the different complexities in the challenge there?
It's interesting. I mean, it's definitely different. I would say that, to use the word reflexive again, I mean, Small Isles is more just sort of like going wherever an idea takes me, which is to say that it doesn't have to adhere to the conventions of pop music.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of great pop music that also does not adhere to the conventions of pop music, but it's less about verses and choruses and bridges and things like that. So that's one major difference. But like there's a couple of things. I mean, when we were starting out in Granddaddy, um, I wanted to go back to the spot where Isaac used to say, from Modest Mouse. I remember him saying that his mom told him at a very early age, it's called playing music, and I wanted to investigate whether or not I could play still, like, which is not to say that it's not challenging. It certainly is challenging. Sometimes it's like, fuck, I know this is supposed to go somewhere and I can feel where it's supposed to go, but I don't know how to get there yet. I don't know which chords to use or melodies or textures or whatever. But I wanted to, not that my career has not been fun. It's been an immense amount of, there's been an immense amount of enjoyment in it, but I wanted to play
Yeah.
more. And so now, like, I'm starting to, for the first time in forever, starting to file away these like ideas for potential songs again, like songs. And I'm just like playing again. I'm playing like in a fun way that my son, who's 6 years old, discovers most of what he discovers through play, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting to think about like that. What would you ever see yourself, once, I don't know, I say you never conquer anything, but like, as you kind of wrap up some projects in the Small Isles and the, the scoring area, like would you ever kind of go back to the conventional, you said you're kind of writing some songs that are more like the conventional side of things again? Would you ever, start another band or, do, more solo stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm sure that something like that will happen at some point,
Mhm.
you know. I mean, even though I left Modest Mouse and even though Jason writes everything in Granddaddy, for example, like Jason and I talk all the time um, about potentially maybe doing stuff. I will never rule out like, Isaac and I doing stuff at some point, and I hope he wouldn't either. I mean, I'm still in touch with Isaac and we're still buddies. And, when it was easy for us to write music together, it was really easy. It was just the two of us, at least at the start of things. Everybody else added incredible stuff to it, but you know, there were a number of occasions where it's just the two of us sitting in a room, and it's like, we're fucking around with instruments in our hands, and then a song materializes. And I still, uh, you know, especially at this point in my life, it's like anything could happen. Like I would love to write music with Isaac again, or I'd love to write music with Jason or Joe Plummer or like Danny from Menomina, any number of people. I mean, I wrote this song with my friend Ethan Gruska, um, this song called Enough for Now that Phoebe Bridgers sang on. And like it was so fun. Like the bones of that, you know, it's always hard work to finish a song, but the bones of that just like sort of popped out of the ether one afternoon and it became this, song that turned into something else,
Yeah. That's wild. I just I look at it, and I'm always fascinated with that process because I just don't have that. That's not a muscle that I've got. I've got a lot of other things that I can do, but it's never something that's creative. I think getting to tell the story is more my speed. But that's a something that's so cool to be able to like. Does it just come to you? Do you just sit there and you mess around on a guitar and you're like, all right, like this sounds like something we could build on? Is it like how does it usually work for you? Like when you were before you got on here, you were scoring something. Like how were you kind of getting your juices flowing on that?
um I try to get rid of everything in my head, so I think that's the most important spot. You got to fill yourself up with as much good stuff as possible, so it's like as much good music as possible and things like that. And then if I'm scoring, if I'm getting into like the Nicole Brown Simpson doc, for example, um I'll usually try to like listen to a bunch of that music that I've already finished, watch some of the or not even temporary, some of the picture. And I think if you get out of your own way, usually there's some, information there that
Hmm.
you're grabbing a hold of. And if it's a song, um, in most cases, the ones that have worked the best. I mean, again, like I've never had that experience that people talk about where it's like, yeah, the song was just done in 4 minutes. That specifically has never happened to me, but the certainly the kernels of that have appeared in the way that like, you know, again, Isaac and I are just sitting around in his attic and we're, drinking beers or whatever, and then something happens. It's like, oh, that's a thing, and then it's now a song that's on a record. So I think if you're paying attention to not paying attention, uh, your antenna are up enough to go like, that's a thing. Let's grab it. You know, then it's there for you. But now for me, really, I just have to get in the studio and like I need to do it on a very like regimented pace. I used to think that like, oh, it's more like if I treat it more like a conventional job, then I'm gonna like interfere with the muse or whatever. And now I know that for me that maybe that was true at one point. I don't think it actually ever was. I think I was just being fucking lazy. Now I know that it's bullshit. It's like you got to show up, drop my kid off at work, or I mean, I drop him off at school. I come in here and I get to work.
Yeah. Just get in, and it's log on. Let's go. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for Small Isles, we'll kind of transition into some, obviously you've toured for a long time with, multiple different bands. Like, do you think that there's a world where we see a Small Isles tour where you kind of are able to build that soundscape for somebody in a live setting?
I really want to. Yeah, I mean, we did do one show in November, a small show in Los Angeles at Hotel Cafe. There was a little string section with Sienna and Suvi, Sienna Peck, who's played on a bunch of small isle stuff, and Suvi Basilar, who's a great cellist, and there was a choir led by my friend Tim Scott and a couple of her friends, and my friend Keith, who's now in Modest Mouse, played bass. Matt Costa and Joel Graves were up there. A woman named Debbie Nair was on piano, and they all just came ready, and it was beautiful. It blew my mind how incredible all of them were. I never had met most of those people before. They just were like recommendations. I sent them the music, and I didn't really even communicate with them that much that night because like it was just I was so like there was so much going on, but it was wonderful. It was a really great experience, and it's something that I want to do again. Like I definitely want to, play with bigger string sections and a choir and things like that. I want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, did you feel like whenever you did that show, did it capture like the epicness that you were looking for in how like you wrote it, and like we were like, man, like this is exactly how I thought it would come to life, as it came off the track.
It's funny, man. Like I had, not to diminish my expectations from anybody else, but I had to have low expectations because again, I'd never met these people. It's like, are they going to be good? And it sounded so much better than I could have imagined it was going to sound. All of those people who played with us that night were just so incredible and really did exceed my expectations. And it made me feel optimistic that, when the time comes to get it rolling again, there's a way to do it.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, I want to make sure we get to, Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. I got one more live music question for you, just
okay,
kind of out of the blue, but what venue would you say was your favorite across all your years? What place had the best vibe, sound that every time you guys would go back there, you look forward to it the most?
I mean, there are a few. Red Rocks is legendary for a reason. Playing there I got to play there twice with Modest Mouse. That was incredible. There are places like the Warfield in San Francisco. A lot of that is because of my history and probably everybody in Granddaddy's history of we all grew up in Modesto, so that was like the place where you would see bands who were not huge bands, the bands that we would like as they were ascending or at a certain point. Great American Music Hall in San Francisco is another one. Playing Madison Square Garden was incredible just because it's the spot. I always think of Granddaddy's first show at Shepherd's Bush Empire in London as being a big deal. It's such a beautiful old classic venue, so those off the top of my head, I mean, those are places that come to mind immediately. The Moore Theater, Paramount Theater in Seattle, those couple of places like I don't know, again, man, I got lucky, like all the places that, not all of them maybe, but many of the places that when I was growing up and would see listed on, bands dates as they were rolling out, however that would even happen. I don't remember how we got that information, pre-internet, but I was really lucky. I got to play a lot of those places, and
that's got to be an awesome full circle moment. We'll look for Small Isles to get into MSG coming soon. Full string section. I mean, full orchestra.
God, I would love that. Yeah,
I
would
mean,
love
just
that.
massive.
I want to start at Carnegie. I never got to play Carnegie yet, so that's my objective.
Carnegie Hall. I love it. I love it. Well, we're based out of Atlanta, so hey, anytime you come, out this way, let us know. We're there. With
I
any of the
love
projects.
Atlanta. I really do.
Yeah.
I love Georgia. I think it's such a beautiful state.
Yeah, well, we got plenty going on here. I can tell you that. There's a lot of great venues in the city. So when you're ready, we'll be happy to shoot you out to the audience anywhere, any way we
Awesome,
can
man.
help, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But we'll get here to Pete Peterson's party pack of questions and wrap it up. But
Okay.
this is 20 questions right in a row. It's gonna be quick. This or
All right.
that.
Okay.
Here we go. Pete Peterson's
All
party
right.
pack of questions starting now. Cake or pie? Jim Fairchild.
I'm going cake today.
He's
Might
going
change
cake.
tomorrow.
All right. All right. Salad or soup?
Salad.
All right. All right. Sunrise or sunset? What are you seeing more of these days?
Sunrise. I'm usually in here at sunset.
I like it. Would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
Shit, man, that's hard. I think I relate more to the slow pace of baseball, so let's say a home run.
I like it. He wants to go yickety. I like it. Night in or a night out? What are you having more of these days?
Definitely nights in.
Gotcha. All right. When you do go out though, maybe on a random Saturday, and you go to your favorite place and they break out your favorite song, are you more likely to break out the robot or the worm?
I guess I'd go robot. I'm probably not getting on the floor.
Okay, no floor action. That's good. That's a good policy. A lot of dirty floors out there. Guac or queso when you go to your favorite Mexican spot?
Guacamole.
Guac. I like it. Waffles or pancakes?
Shit, man. In our house, my wife is the waffle person and I'm the pancake person. So if I'm gonna like really dip into the leisure, I'm gonna go waffle because that would mean I would have to be less active in the morning.
That's good. That's good. Your son's very lucky. He's getting waffles and pancakes. Let's go. I mean, what are we talking about here? Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right, big coffee. All right, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
All right, ninja or a pirate? What do you identify more with?
My son is so into ninjas. It's got to be a ninja.
I like it. I like it. Gatorade or Powerade? We're not sponsored by these people. We just like to ask the question.
I didn't know there was a difference. So let's see. I guess I grew up drinking Gatorade at like soccer games and shit. Let's go with Gatorade.
All right, we got Gatorade, the original. All right, toast or bagels?
Oof. Bagels seem like more of a treat, so I'm gonna go with bagels.
I got it. I got it. Chips or pretzels?
Chips.
Chips. All right. Fries or tots?
Ooh, man. Uh, my dearly beloved mom passed away in 2015. She made the best French fries. So if a French fry is well made and is like properly crispy, I think of my mom doing that for us, and it brings back tremendous memories. French fries.
Oh, wow. That's the best answer for the reasoning on French fries ever. I love that. TV show or movies? When you wind down for the evening, what are you watching?
Gosh, to be totally honest, man, I probably have to go TV show because I most nights I can't make it through a movie now. That little
Yeah,
dude wakes up early. I wake up early now, so I gotta be sharp as a tack
I like it.
because
I
he's
like
ready to roll in the morning.
it. All right, are aliens real?
Yeah,
Okay. Bigfoot, is that real?
I'm gonna go with no.
No. All right. Is love at first sight real, Jim?
Um, I met Natasha almost 20 years ago and was fully like dead eyeing her, and we were dead eyeing each other from across first a street and then a series of rooms throughout the day, and we are somehow still together. So sure, let's do it.
Love at first sight real, according to Jim Fairchild. You guys heard it here first. Quote it. Name a couple bands, two bands that we might not know that we ought to check out that are, folks that we can, reach out and say, hey, Jim Fairchild told us to call you and get you on an interview.
Okay,
Dig your
so
music.
I love I get to do A&R at Dangerbird Records. I love doing it, and there are two bands that I've brought into the Dangerbird world. One is called Mediocre, um, and it's these women, Piper and Keeley. They make incredible pop songs, um, and they have a new EP that's going to come out probably like in the springtime that they just got done cutting. So Mediocre would be one, and then my friends Millie, who I also brought in, they're a three, four piece, 3/4 piece guitar rock band, big, massive guitars, really good songs and melodies. And I think both of those bands, not just because I brought them into Dangerbird, I just think they're both fantastic. And I love um, the little bit that I do get to like see them and hang out with them and talk to them about their process. I like both of them more and more every time I get to know them more and more. Both of them are now pretty long relationships, like coming up on 5 years in one case, so.
Wow. That is awesome. So we have mediocre is just Mediocore, and then
Yep.
Millie, Millie or Y?
Milly, and there are two
Milly.
bands that are spelled the same, but they're the guitar rock version. I think the other Millie is kind of maybe more of a R&B or hip hop thing.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Jim Fairchild conquered Pete Peterson's party pack of questions with just absolute gusto and nailed it. So, Jim, we appreciate you coming on here and sharing some vibes with us, sharing some stories, and ultimately, you guys need to check out everything on Memory, Small Isles album release, last year, which was just a couple days ago. And check out the Be the Change. Is that the film? The
Yeah,
Pollinators.
that'll be out in probably May. Common Ground is out now. I think
Common Ground.
it might have another Atlanta screening coming up, but you guys broadcast everywhere. So Common Ground is great. We didn't make the short list for the Oscars, but we made the long list. So
Hey, you were on the list though. Somebody wrote your name down. Let's go.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. That's what my wife said. She's like, at least you made the list.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, Jim, we appreciate you coming on here, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man.
Take care.
All right. Be well.
Be well.
Happy